Hello everybody, it's Whiskey11 and welcome back to the Gaming Lounge. And in this video we're going to do some within visual range fighting, some advanced air combat maneuvering, some dogfighting against an F-18 Lot 20 Hornet. And this is once again going to be against AI, so obviously there is a bit of a caveat there in that the AI is... there's a lot of things that the AI does in this game that real pilots wouldn't do, or they will not do things that real pilots would do. So there's a couple things to keep in mind about the F-18 Hornet. The biggest thing is that it is exceptionally more maneuverable at high angles of attack compared to the Tomcat. It is also significantly more capable with its nose authority in terms of its ability to turn. Its biggest disadvantage is the lack of relative power and thrust to weight compared to the Tomcat. So the goal of getting in a dogfight with an F-18 Hornet, again, this is guns only, which we need to caveat there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But the whole point of this video is to demonstrate that the F-18 Hornet is not an aircraft that you want to get in a turn fight with in the Tomcat. What you do want to do, though, is you want to exploit those massive freaking engines out back and use that to keep your power up. Remember, the Tomcat's best turning speed is around 350 knots. It's hard to keep track of that when you're, flying in these giant vertical loops, but the concept is basically how an F-15 driver would fight a Tomcat. You want to stay almost purely in the vertical. You want to do your best to get on his 6, and you're going to have to maximize those snapshot potentials, but you really do not want to get into that low-speed turn fight because the Hornet will absolutely murder you in those instances. So why is it important that we're only talking about a gunfight? Well, the Hornet has access to the Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System, JHMICs, and the JHMICs, in combination with the A-9X, means you will lose this fight 9 times out of 10 because he can look at you, and so long as you are in the front about 80 degrees forward in any direction, there is an AIM-9X coming your way, and it will find you and it will hurt you. That said, though, the F-18 Hornet is actually really easy to kill. I didn't struggle to get this video at all, not nearly as much as I'm struggling to fight against an F-5, by the way. And the biggest thing is it's very easy to lose the F-5. The Hornet is a little bit harder for you to lose. So there's a couple of times in this video in which I will actually lose the Hornet in these dogfights. But once again, you can see we're primarily sticking to vertical regimes here. We're doing a lot of loops. We're not trying to engage in a turn fight here. And oh, this was one of those instances in which I lost him. Oh, there goes the smoke cloud, so he's behind us somewhere. And it really... Ooh, is that him? That was him. Very briefly for a second. Okay, getting a little bit of high angle of attack built up here. Lost him completely again. So when you lose a Hornet, chances are he's going to be... Well, especially with the AI, he's going to be behind you, so throttle up and dive to the deck. Once you regain visual of him, obviously make your appropriate maneuvers. And in this case, we'll see this in the TAC view. This Hornet has a crap ton of energy, and he wasn't able to pull up his nose without bleeding it all off. That's what actually allows me to roll around and kind of turn the tables against him. So you can see there I used the power of the engines to really push us up into the atmosphere to where we have a slightly better performance envelope, and then force him out of his element. So once again here, we're pulling a little bit of angle of attack here, but we're still sticking to the vertical. Okay, so there he goes. And now we're going to use our rudder to roll over. I keep forgetting to actually turn on the control input so you can see that at those high angles of attack, when you're getting a lot of shake in the cockpit, that buffeting, you really have to start using the rudders to roll this aircraft because of its different flight characteristics. It's not the Hornet where you can just yank the stick back and it'll do things. So now we've bled off a lot of our energy and we're starting to play the Hornet's game, and we don't want to do that. This has its advantages if he's doing this, and he's doing these big loops with full afterburner, and he's got a lot of speed built up. I lost him under the nose, and this is one of the downsides to the Tomcat. It has great forward visibility, but if you turn too soon, you lose him. And so I lost him. We built up all of our speed. As soon as I lost him, we threw it into burner. We went right back into the vertical, and look, there he is. We found him. That was a jester call out. Okay, so now that we've got him in visual, we're going to do our best to keep track of him. And once again, we do not want to fight the turn fight with him, especially since right now he's actually playing the vertical game quite well. So we're just going to use the speed. We're going to build up the speed. We're going to build up the energy. You could also treat this as like, you know, using some World War II tactics. You could also use this as a boom and zoom if you really, really wanted to, but... Okay, so at this point we are on his 6. We have enough low energy state here that it's going to be hard for him to really shake us, absent some really wild maneuvering. So, and now he makes a mistake. So this was a fairly large mistake that he made. Had he continued this turn, it would have been much harder for me to get this shot, but now that he's here, okay, first shot out, we miss. That time we got some good hits. It looks like we took off one of his... elevons, the elevator ailerons, and at this point he is basically a sitting duck. We just need to actually practice our gunnery. There's a couple more big hits. This bird's taking a lot of hits. I mean, he's effectively out of this fight, but we'll just keep on poking him here. And we're going to look at this in the TAC view, and we're going to see a lot about the... And a quick strafe there, and... Okay, so... We are going to look at this in the TAC view, but right here you can see I'm doing a bit of a high yo-yo here. We were going to pass over him, so I'm going to use that energy. We're going to climb up in altitude to help us slow down, as well as decrease our lateral distance, and that helps us stay behind him. Not that he's like a wildly maneuvering target and can't, you know, actually get behind him, but... so that's the end of this. Now let's go look at this here in TAC view. Alright, so TAC view is going to actually show us some interesting different tidbits here. So let's go ahead and rewind this all the way back up. And let's go ahead and let's start this. So when it comes to the merge with the F-14 Tomcat and the Hornet, you can see he goes vertical. And we actually have a lot more speed built up, at least on the start of this video, than the Hornet has. That's going to rapidly change as the Hornet comes into this, trying to get as much energy as possible, because he knows that he's not going to have the same ability to disengage or use his engines to get away from this fight. In fact, if a Hornet finds himself in this situation without the 9X and the Jahimics, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to win this fight on his terms. He's going to have to really outdo the Tomcat pilot in a lot of different areas to get there. But that's not to say that the Tomcat and the Hornet aren't capable. So I want to point something out here. I was actually not expecting this at the merge. I was not expecting the Hornet to have retained so much of its energy during this fight. And again, we're fighting off against an excellent AI. In a lot of ways, this was actually a huge advantage to me, but I wasn't able to capitalize on it because it had taken me aback, and I didn't line up with it in the line up with the Hornet in the merge. But I could have easily gotten a snapshot gun kill on the coming over the top of this this Immelman that I just did. So once again, he's still above me. So well, got a couple of different things. He's coming down, so now we're going to come down with him. And at this point, I've throttled back because I don't want to gain a huge amount of energy relative to him in this fight. Again, we do not need to retain as much energy because we do have those big, powerful engines out back to really propel us. But every time I go up in one of these loops, I am absolutely going to be using the afterburner. So once again, we've gone up. We're kind of doing a little bit of a corkscrew here. Sorry, I don't have the real technical term. I guess that's technically a chandelle, which is French for candle, and I don't know why that's why that's called a chandelle, but technically a 180-degree turn involving a climb is technically that anyway. So once again, we're keeping things vertical. So we're keeping this fight purely in ours, but look at our energy state differences I'm at Mach 0.15, he's at 0.5, which means in terms of energy, he actually has a significant advantage. But the problem is he can't get a good firing solution on me because he's got so much more energy that he is actually struggling to bring his nose on and get on my 6 because I'm turning that much tighter than him. And we talked a little bit about this in the previous video facing off against the MiG-29 with regards to buffet and how it relates to turn radius in the F-14 Tomcat. Again, 15 units of angle of attack. That's the angle of attack on the gauge in the Tomcat is about ideal. This is a very light and mild buffet. Anything more than that, and actually what's happening, and I explained this in the comment in that video, is you're actually stalling the airframe. The airflow over the body of the aircraft is actually stalling. It's causing vortices to form on the top side of the aircraft, and you're actually not turning better. You're just bleeding off a whole bunch of speed. You're not actually turning better because the stall means you're losing the lift that is helping pull you through the corner. So there, we almost had another snapshot, and I'd been paying a little bit better attention, probably would have been able to get that, but now we're kind of falling down into this downward spiral, but I lost him behind me. And so when I got in this situation, point the nose down, power up until you can find him. He pops up on the RWR, and I realize he's on my 6. I look back, I see where he's at, I pull back on the stick, and take this right back into the vertical. Now, this is the scene that I was talking about where he had so much more energy. Look at my Mach 0.26 versus his 0.35. He started that climb at about half a Mach or so higher than me. Well, he was about half Mach, and I was at a quarter-ish. And so he overshot that turn. He couldn't get his nose up without bleeding a metric crap ton of energy. And now we go vertical. Here's another place where a player probably would have taken a snapshot there. But once again, we went vertical, bled off almost all of our energy. Look at how much energy he has relative to us. We're still not getting in a turn fight. We're still using the vertical. So now I'm back on his 6 again. Once again, being in a lower energy state actually is an advantage here. So now we're going to go back in the vertical. And look at how quickly he's able to get on your 6. So at this point, I'm going to take it a little bit horizontal here to try and change my vertical distance, because now he's trying to fight this fight in a vertical. That's an advantage to us. And you can see here, and now you see why I lost him. I thought he was going to come through and stay close to the water, but he actually pulled up. But when they go vertical and they get on your 6 as quickly as he was able to do there, one of the best things that you could possibly do is to change the distance. So it's the same concept as a high yo-yo, where when you're in that flat 180-degree turn, you're in that turn fight, you want to add the vertical to, decrease the distance that you're traveling laterally or horizontally. It's the same thing in a vertical fight. When he's winning the vertical rate fight because he has better nose authority than you, add horizontal so that you can stay behind him. So once again, we've managed to get on his 6. We've just been doing a whole bunch of loops. This track is really interesting looking. But continuing on up and over here, you can see we are on his 6. Had he continued this turn, I would have never have gotten this opportunity. But since he went vertical here, we've got the energy. We're going to follow him up. He's bleeding energy, and we missed that first snapshot, but there we go. We got ourselves some good hits on him there, and this basically ended the fight for us. We had to go all this way in order to get to some actual gun performance. But once this happened, the Tomcat's ability to turn better just helped out tremendously. And there goes, I think that's when he lost that elevator, or elevon, or whatever you want to call it. And now it's just a matter of us just taking him out. So, man, I'm looking at the track here, and it says F-18C has been hit 4 times. That was the first time that I hit him. Oh, I guess I should probably point this at him, right? That was the first time that I hit him. 6 times the second time. 8 times the time after that. 6 times after that. And then 4 more times coming up here. And there he goes. So we hit him with 10, 18, 24, 28 rounds of 20mm in order to go ahead and get him out of this fight. Anyway, I hope this video has been very enlightening to you. Once again, when it comes to fighting against the F-18 Hornets, it's all about the vertical fight. Don't get into a low energy fight unless you have the advantage and you're on his 6. The minute you get into that low energy fight is the minute his high nose authority at high angle of attack is going to absolutely massacre you in the Tomcat. When it gets into those low energy state fights, throw on the burner, take it back into the vertical, and get on his 6. Anyway, I'm Whiskey11. I hope this video has been informative. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.